This is the setup I used for demonstrating the QR code scanner's functionality. It's very similar to the setup that I used for the smart doorbell, with my Pi camera being taped down with electrical tape to the front of some cardboard. It is angled upward by resting on a playing card box with some graph paper sticky notes below it. There is a slit for the camera's wiring to go through so they can connect to the Raspberry Pi that is sitting in a little cardboard enclosure. And since the cable is far from the wall, it uses a candle to keep it from falling off the desk. This is the code that I used for my QR code assignment. The first thing that I want to point out is that I needed to import NumPy for my creative application. The code starts to capture video through the Pi's camera and then defines the detector for later use. I also initialized two arrays that will later be used to track the center of the QR code, center X array and center Y array. Then it heads into the while true loop, where there is the code that writes the video into an image and the detected QR code into the variables data and bbox. If a QR code is detected, it will draw a box around the QR code and display what the QR code has encoded inside of it, next to the QR code. Then, if the data of the QR code specifically says draw, then it will take note of the current X and Y coordinates at the center of the QR code. It does this by taking the difference between the corners that are diagonal from one another, and then dividing that difference by 2 and adding it to the first corner in the bbox tuple. Then, if the center array exists, it will draw all of the points that it has stored in the center X and center Y array. I use the center X array's length to determine this, but they should be the same length. It then will print the data from the QR code onto the console for the user to see, as well as display the image after all the modifications are made. You can also press Q to break out of it at any time. The only way to reset the drawing is to hit Q and end the code and then restart it. This is the demonstration of the QR code detector. So I sure showed that it works normally with any QR code and will just display the data without drawing. It draws the box and displays the data next to the QR code, and it should work given any orientation. I then go on and I show the drawing functionality, where if you have a QR code that says the word draw on it, it will keep track of that center point, and you will be able to draw with the QR code if you are skilled enough to do so. It is relatively difficult when looking at yourself mirrored to get the right angles and trajectories that you're going for. I tried to draw a box with a X in it and failed because I did not think about the full box. And that is my QR code detection assignment.